Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. I go by Rachel Ray on the internet, and today is my first ever face-to-face Wipnchat. A Wipnchat, Wip stands for work in progress and chat is just chatting. So I'm just going to chit-chat with you while I'm working on my current work in progress, which today I decided to break out my knitting. I am working on the Stephen West Shawlography mystery knit along. So if you have not yet, if you don't want to be surprised, please don't look right now. Just look away. This side is complete. This side I am working on. All right, it's now in my lap, so you will not see it again. The way that the camera is situated, you won't see it, but I will be working on it. So I thought today I'm going to catch you up with a little bit of life. There's not too much to talk about today, in fairness, because my life is not as interesting as other people, I guess. But I'll give you a little bit of life update, and you can work on whatever you'd like to work on. If you would like to diamond paint, or if you want to cross stitch, or whatever you'd like to do. You could knit, crochet, whatever it is that you need to work on today. You could clean your kitchen sink, or maybe your fridge. I need to do that actually. But I'm just going to kind of catch you up on what's going on here and work on my project while we do that. So I thought that it might be nice to do a face-to-face this time, simply because I just don't have the urge to diamond paint today. It is a very dreary, like it only just let up. It's a rainy kind of misty day today here in southwest rural Ireland. The temperature is hovering at about 10 degrees Celsius, and I suppose that's probably in the upper 40s in Fahrenheit, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Not good at the conversion in my head yet, because I just think in either Fahrenheit or Celsius. I don't do the back and forth thing. I've had a couple of questions about, me and why I live in Ireland. I have actually talked about this at length in a previous Wipnchat a long time ago. So if you have not yet watched my older Wipnchats, I invite you to do so. I have a playlist. You can start anywhere that you like, wherever seems to be like a good episode for you. But I just thought that I'd kind of talk about why I'm here and stuff like that. But first, I know that you were all dying to know about the cat. Kitty, aka Ma'am, aka Gigi. Gigi is doing very, very well. And we spell it Jiji, Gigi. Gigi's doing very well. She's actually probably in the living room right now. She likes to sit next to my chair, and then if I'm not in that room, sometimes during the day when I'm in here, she'll actually go into the back bedroom and lay on the guest bed and sleep there during the day while I'm doing, loud chores and things. And then at night, she's always sitting next to me or on my lap. Luna is very jealous of this, of course. So I try to give Luna as much time as I can at the beginning of the day. She is my ride or die. She's my number one. So she follows me everywhere. She's always attached to me at the hip. It's a little bit worse right now because of the cat. But all in all, she is okay with the cat. They are I think they're about a week away from playing with each other, like actively playing, hopefully. Because each night it gets easier and easier. And you know me, I have patience. So I'm just waiting for it to happen. Until then, I'm trying to give Luna as much attention when she's being good as possible. Sometimes she is not good, though. However, she hasn't like bit the cat or anything like that. The cat is obviously protecting herself very well. So there's no problem there. Oh, I meant to get a cup of tea or a glass of water or something, but I didn't. Oh, well. So, let's see. What else is going on this week? I went to the doctor on Friday, yesterday, and we talked about the medication and how when I'm on an anti-anxiety medication basically, and when earlier this year when I got back from the States, the computer system was defaulting my prescription to a different brand than I had previously been getting. And 2 weeks into that new brand, I realized that there was a problem. I was having some serious anxiety attacks. And so I told the pharmacist, but I didn't tell my doctor because it costs me 50 euros to see my doctor. And I should have told my doctor at that moment, but I didn't. I just kept going when I was refilling my prescription because I get a 3-month refill. I was just asking the pharmacist to please make sure it was the old prescription. But Friday, I went in and I told him directly. I said, I had a bad reaction. And so is there a way that we could fix this? And I knew there was a way, but I just wanted to make sure that he, maybe he felt like he was coming up with the idea or something. But anyway, he has put it in the system, do not substitute. So when I got my refill yesterday, it was the right one, the one that I'm used to. He also said that even though I don't feel much better, I am more stable, more confident, more, what's the word? There's a word where you are more to the point or something. Sometimes I struggle with finding words. Anyway, he said that he feels that since I saw him last, there has been a significant difference in my mood or my mental stability. And I told him that I am ready for therapy. I'm ready for counseling or, whatever you want to call it. I would like to talk to someone now. Because I think I know what I want to. I think I can handle talking now. When I first, I don't know if you've seen it before, but I made a Wipnchat a few years ago where I kind of came out and explained that I felt like I was depressed, and I went to my doctor and told him that I thought I was depressed. And that's how I, got diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety disorder. So at that point, he said that he felt I was too close to the edge to start talk therapy. That's why they put me on the medication right away. But the medication is just a mood stabilizer, right? So my high mood is not as high as others, or as my high moods have been in the past, and my lows are definitely not as low. That was the important part, right? Because I recognize when I'm having a good time However, I think that the medication is now blocking my ability to feel as happy about things as I want to, about my life in general. So the next logical step is to you have to build those coping mechanisms, or like I'm not a therapist, okay? I'm just sharing my experience because I think it's important. But we have to learn how to build the ladder for ourselves to get out of the pit, to recognize when we're having a low moment, and to be able to fix our mood and to do it in a healthy way. For the last few years, I'm not going to be specific on this because I think it's really telling and also embarrassing and a little bit shameful, is that for the past many years, I have turned to other things to feel things, to help me get through. And they're not like illegal by any means. These are all legal things that you can do. But like, for example, alcohol. Alcohol is actually a depressant, but in the moment, it makes you feel much happier. It's a terrible, terrible crutch. So alcoholism and depression sometimes go hand in hand. You probably know someone who is an alcoholic who is also clinically depressed. And I feel like I was in that box for a very long time. So for me, getting help is recognizing these very difficult, how do I put it? These behaviors that I have been using to protect myself, or to nurture my feelings. I have to now let go of those and build new, healthier mechanisms to build happiness. And the irony of living in Ireland is not lost to me. Every social event includes alcohol, and so it is very difficult to stay away from it. However, I'm working on it. It's been a long road this year, through the grief and through a lot of learning lessons to get where I am now. And now I'm ready. I'm ready to be, what's the word? Vulnerable to a professional. So I would also like to talk to that person about the possibility of me getting tested for adult attention deficit disorder, because I would also like to learn ways to help that without medication. What can I do? Aside from making lists about everything. But I'm not here looking for any kind of medical advice, so please don't feel obligated to leave any. It's just, I wanted to share that update with you because I know that there are many of you who have been following me for quite some time, and I know that you care. And that really means a lot to me. I never intended for this to be like a journal of sorts, but I do recognize that after so many years, there are people that are just like me, and there are people who have been through this before. And you all have made it so much easier for me to get help, to get the help I deserve. But I have to say that some months have been a real struggle. October was one of those months. That's why I recognized that I couldn't continue those daily videos, that I needed to take a step back for a few months coming up, these few months, even though I have things to share with you all. And speaking of sharing, I have a little bit of Happy Mail that I need to open here. But I figured I would open Happy Mail during the Wipnchat, just because I'm not making a dedicated video at the moment. So yes, that is a little update on me. James is doing very well. He's very happy at his job, and of course he's killing it. Like, he is the horticulture teacher for an adult learning center and just in town. And he's really enjoying his position and getting a lot of satisfaction out of working there, which is always really important, you know? It's important to feel like you're making a difference in the job that you have. So really quick, I'm just going to do a little housekeeping, and then I will tell you the story of how I got here and why I live in Ireland and not in Virginia, where I grew up. So, housekeeping. Today is the 6th of November, 2021, and I just wanted to invite everybody to come on over to my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/RachelRayCraft, and I have a link in the description of this video. It's under the social tab, so you'll see all of my social media and Patreon and everything down there. The group Crafters Anonymous on Facebook that I share with Mrs. Crochet and Coffee, all of that stuff is linked down there. But Twitch is where I'm spending Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, the afternoons, just hanging out over there and diamond painting, cross-stitching, and playing a game called Stardew Valley. So if you are interested in maybe catching me live, or you can watch the replay, whatever you would like to do, I would love it if you would follow me over there. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to follow, just like you don't have to pay anything to subscribe to YouTube. But it is fun to catch up with you and be live with you. It really is. I enjoy talking to people, and I enjoy talking to people in real time. Finally, I have a platform where I can go live, and it's only going to get better. So I do invite you. Oops, sorry, I knocked the microphone there. I do invite you to come over to Twitch and chill with us over there. If you are looking for more content from me, because I have stepped back, and if you are interested in, my day-to-day, if you like seeing more, private stuff and what I've been working on, and, clips of Luna and the kitty and all that kind of stuff, please consider it. Consider joining my Patreon. Patreon is a platform where creators can offer more benefits for following for a small fee. Patreon is a monthly fee. It does have a paywall, and there's a reason for that. But basically, for the price of a sandwich per month, you can get my weekly vlogs. My vlogs are over an hour long every week, so it's different than a Wipnchat. You get me in the car, you get me in the garden, you get the dog. You get to see how much I've done over a session of crafting. You get to see how I do things, and I enjoy making those videos a lot. So please, if you would like to consider it. We've only just started the month, so tomorrow, if you're watching this on Saturday, Sundays is when I upload my vlogs, unless there has been like some technical glitch, and then it's Monday. But you'll also, for the tier with the vlogs, you also get my schedule for each week. You get any like last minute changes. You get notified whenever there's like a delay or something like that. I always update you guys, and then also posting pictures and things like that when I can. There are also other tiers, like the live streaming tier, where you get a live stream just with a very small group of people instead of a bunch. But I would warn you that just check your time zone against mine. My live streams are at 8 p.m. GMT plus 1, which is 5 hours ahead of the East Coast of the U.S. So if you're in the U.S., that would be 3 o'clock? Yeah, 3 o'clock Eastern time is 8 o'clock here. So that kind of thing, just watch the time zones. I know that there have been some times where I can't make it up. So, but I will do my best, obviously. And also there is a Zoom tier where I have a Zoom every month. Now I'm going to be changing things a little bit in January. I'm going to be adding another Zoom for the Zoom tier so that there will be 2 Zooms every month. There will be one in the morning in the middle of the month and one in the evening at the end of the month. And then that way I can cover more time zones. That was one thing that we discussed in my last Zoom. Also in December, anybody who is a patron in November can roll over and they won't have to pay. I'm going to, it's kind of like putting a cap on it. Patreon will not be charging anyone for the month of December because I will not be able to commit to doing all those things necessarily, but I will still be doing the vlogs. So if you are interested, that is an option, and it does help me. It helps me to continue making content and to keep getting things for the channel and things like that. Also, I do respect everybody. I do respect everybody. But I do get a lot of requests everywhere, and I listen to my patrons first. So if my patrons have a request, I usually do that first. So just FYI. Not that, I don't let other people run my channel. This is a one-person business, I suppose you could say. It's just me here. It's me and my hands and my eyeballs that edit these videos, upload, and everything else. There's no extra hands involved. So I do appreciate everyone who has donated, gifted, become a patron. For those people who have subscribed to Twitch, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. You can get a month free with your Prime subscription if you have Amazon Prime. And then that way you don't have to pay anything for your first month. But yeah, it's been a really good few weeks of exploring new options and also taking a little bit of a breather. I needed a few weeks, definitely, and I think I'm going to need a little bit more time just because I'm kind of juggling a lot right now. I told everybody we are trying to get a house. So these next few weeks are a bit nerve-wracking. There is a house that I am interested in. I don't want to get my hopes up because I don't like disappointment. But we won't know until the banks either accept or deny our request for a mortgage. And there's a lot to it, so just light a candle for us, please, and keep us in your thoughts as we navigate this first time homeowning journey. I don't think it's going to be as smooth as I wish it was, but it will be something. So let's just hope for now. I have hope. All right. Let's just quickly touch on by the way, I don't know if this is going to be a full hour today. We'll see. Let's touch on how I got to Ireland and all that. We're going to have to back up a little bit. So, back in 2010, I moved to South Korea to start my career as an English as a second language teacher, or a TEFL teacher. You might hear ESL, TEFL, whatever. It was a really big thing. Originally, I wanted to go to Japan. That wasn't going to happen. I needed a lot more teaching experience to move to Japan, but South Korea was looking for young, attractive, young people to teach and to have the energy to teach a lot of hours. So I moved there in July of 2010. Can't believe it was that long ago. And I need to move this underneath that. All right. Sorry, I'm a little bit thirsty, and I'm thinking I might just go get some water before I start this row, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I was there. I'll spare you all the details, but I did work there for 4 years. In 2011, at the end of 2011, I was about 4 months into a new workplace, a new school where I was teaching. The first job was teaching kind of like kindergarten, primary school age, but I was a Hagwon teacher, which is a private school, like an after school / kindergarten preschool. Oh, excuse me. I need to knit this, not purl this. Okay. So my second school was still a private school, but it operated like a public school. And I was their only teacher for quite some time. I loved the job at the beginning, but after the first 3 months, the honeymoon period, they didn't like me anymore. I was under the impression that maybe they thought that I was overweight or, something like that, that I wasn't the image that they wanted for their school. They started putting more and more responsibilities on me that were very difficult to achieve. And I was very close to just up and leaving one night during winter holidays, but winter holidays weren't until after the new year. So on the weekend of New Year's Eve for us, a Korean friend of mine who I'd met through a language exchange group, she invited me to go on this trip. And I was feeling really rough, okay? I was not into it. I was like, I don't want to meet people. I just want to leave. I want to go back to the United States. Like, I'm done. And I think she sensed that, which is why she wanted to bring me away with her friend for the weekend. And it was a group of people who I had actually gone with this travel group. It was like a travel group for foreigners, basically. The leader of the group was a Korean guy, but he was very well traveled and he spoke several languages and he was a really nice person. So in the end, I agreed, even though I didn't have a lot of money to spend on a skiing holiday. I was like, oh, well, I'll just come and hang out, drink some coffee, and I'll bring some, I brought my sketch pad and stuff like that. And I was drawing at the time. Not very well. But I was getting heavy into the arts because that's what happens when I feel down, is I draw stuff. So, and I have not done that in a long time. But anyway, I got there and that is where I met James. I met him in the cafe of a ski resort while I was oil painting a friend of mine. And he said that at that very moment when he saw me at the cafe and I was not paying attention to anybody else, was not interested in, being wild or whatever, he just knew. He was like, wow, this girl is cool. And when I met him, I was totally apprehensive of everybody, but he had an openness and a sense of humor that just really clicked with me. And I knew by the end of that weekend that I wanted to go on a date with that guy. So it worked out. And needless to say, I didn't leave the country. I didn't leave after all. I stayed. I stayed at the terrible job. I finished my contract. I moved to another, probably even worse job, technically. Some of the people I worked with were okay, but the conditions of that job were very difficult. And I had signed a 1.5 year long contract with that school. And I taught 16-year-old boys, 15, and then they turned 16. I stayed their teacher the whole time for that 1.5 years. I did not like that school. They used corporal punishment on their students. I did not agree with that, especially because it was such it was a school in an impoverished area, and the kids were acting out as a means of getting attention because they weren't getting any attention at home. The counseling was a joke, and I just found it I think that's where my depression began. The seeds of what I am dealing with now started there. So from there, after that 1.5 years, I moved back to the US, and James and I had decided that we were going to come to Ireland when his contract had finished at his job, and then we were going to move on. We said maybe Spain and teach in Spain. So I left in February. He had to stay until April, so I went back to Virginia and spent some time with family. Then he finished and he came directly over to me. He got to meet, my parents. He got to meet my grandparents. And then we came to Ireland. My first ever time. I got to meet his family. And when I got here, I just got a feeling. It's a really beautiful place to live. The way that people interact with each other is totally different than anywhere else I've ever lived in my life. There are good things and bad things, of course. And there are positives and negatives with living in a very rural countryside town well, it's not even a town anymore. It's technically a village. At one of the furthest points from the metropolitan area of the country. So I do not have the lifestyle that I was used to as someone who lived in big cities and also adjacent, like, suburbs. This is not suburbs. This is proper backwoods, like it's an hour from the nearest town. There are villages along the way. But, if you need to get a computer repaired, or you need to go clothes shopping, or you need to, maybe you like to eat a certain kind of food that isn't Irish, at least an hour, at least. And then from there, if you want to go to Dublin, for example, which Dublin is the capital of Ireland, if you want to go to Dublin, it is a 4.5-hour drive. At least, if you don't stop. And if there's no roadworks. So, yes. A lot of people who we knew or know live in a city. After living in Asia, it's very easy to live in a city. But James and I were always fascinated with gardening and being close to nature. So, oops, did I do that the wrong way? I did. Sorry, I have to keep, I'm changing colors, you see. I won't show you what I'm working on, but like, I'm using this mustard color and then this purplish color, which is in the bag. I'm keeping it in the bag because I feel like it's gonna roll apart if I don't. Sorry if you can hear the dripping in the kitchen. I thought that I had pulled the tap closed. But anyway, so James and I moved here in 2014. I started working, I got here on a tourist visa. I applied for a de facto visa, which is a relationship visa. You had to have 2 years worth, I think at the time. 2 years worth of paperwork with, bills and things with both of your names on the paperwork, which I had, but it was all in Korean, and then I had to get it translated, and then I had to get an affidavit. It was a whole rigmarole, but eventually I did get my de facto visa in 2015, and at the end of 2015, James proposed. I said yes. We got married in September of 2016, September the 3rd, and what a lovely day that was. Then I have worked a few jobs here and there. I was a chocolatier, a barista and a chocolatier. I was, what else did I do? I worked for a year on the phone as an Aer Lingus customer service representative, aka I answered phones. That I wasn't technically working for Aer Lingus. I was working for a different company, but I was answering phones for Aer Lingus. Probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had. Soul destroying. I worked, you probably met me, well, you might have met me when I was working as I call it the glorified janitor position. I worked in a hotel here in my town. At the time, it was a hotel. First, I was a server. Then, for about a week, I was the food and beverage manager. They put me on the bar once or twice, and I declined. I stepped down because I was like, I'm not doing that again. I got harassed, so I was like, I can't control myself. I'm going to get something really heavy, and I'm going to beat somebody if that happens again. I was really angry. I'm not going to get into it. I've never felt the need to hurt someone until that day. Called the cops and everything. Then they moved. I respectfully moved. And every summer I was working as an English teacher. I was working for like an ESL school in the summertime here in the town. And every winter they closed up, so I needed to find a winter job. And the last job, like I'm using air quotes, job that I had was the glorified janitor at the swimming pool. I was basically just maintaining the gym and the swimming pool to the best of my ability with an owner that didn't care and wouldn't spend money, to the point where I threatened to quit a few times. And at the time I was doing YouTube, and I think I had just recently gotten monetized, which was wonderful. And at that moment I knew that there was a sliver of hope that I might be able to leave that job. Then, this is like a timeline of Rachel's life. In December, just before New Year's of 2020. So at the very end of 2019, I was laid off of that job because the owner was going to shut down the hotel and remodel. But in March, the Great Panini happened. And you know what? He opened the place. Instead of a hotel, the plan all along that he had hid from us was to turn it into a direct provision center for refugees. And it wasn't that I wasn't upset that it was going to become a direct provision center. I was upset that they had somehow okayed a very rural hotel in the heart of a tourist area that has very little in the way of work for the local people, was supposed to help 50 plus refugees to live sustainable lives in this area during the winter months. And it just wasn't I felt like it wasn't the right place. And then it got worse. They just mishandled that situation 100%. The owner was just trying to make money off of people and their suffering. So he was like doing all this crazy stuff and blah, blah, blah. You can actually read about it if you want to online. All the horrible things that they were doing to people. And of course, that person is going to say that that's a lie and blah, blah, blah. But it's actually proven. So then I helped to protest that particular place. So all last year, at the beginning of last year, I was protesting the direct provision center that was in my town because it was unfit for purpose. It was not a turnkey situation. They didn't have their own room with the kitchenette and all that stuff. They had to have communal meals during COVID-19. Everyone was getting COVID there. And they had children. They had 2 confirmed cases that they tried to hush-hush. It was a big bad deal. So during the riots and the Black Lives Matter movement, there was also this direct provision protest in my town. So we were heavily protesting at that time because those people deserved better. They needed to get better services than that hotel could provide. And in the end, they won. The refugees won. They were taken to a better facility, multiple facilities where they would actually have apartments and not just a hotel room that they might be sharing with another family, literally just a room with a bed that they had to share with strangers. It was unreal. Last year, I realized that there was no way that I was going to let go of YouTube. I really enjoy making videos. I enjoy this interaction. I enjoy making crafting content. It is literally like something I really enjoy to do. I used to teach art classes all the time, and so this is just kind of second nature to me. And I felt really, really blessed that during the pandemic, I was able to actually continue to work and make some money through YouTube and Patreon and that sort of thing. That's when I made a Patreon, was last year, I think. And that is how I'm continuing to live here. I have a spousal visa because I got married. So if there are people that are wondering how you enter Ireland, how do you move to Ireland, you would have to look at the types of visas that you are eligible for and decide which visa you're going to apply for. Prepare for a very, very long wait. Nothing happens quickly in this country. Nothing. One of the biggest culture shocks for me, even still to this day, if I go to the States and come back, is how in the US we feel entitled to having very quick service. Everything gets done right now. That is the way that America is built, on the idea of capitalism. And if you're not going to do it for me today, I'll go and find somebody that will. And that is kind of how somebody just walked by and they can actually see into my room. That is how I think America has kind of grown over the past few decades, I guess. I can only speak from like the 90s on, but just going to close that so that other people can't just look into my room. So yeah, that is one of the big things. So it's a different way of life here, and I am very grateful for it. Some people would probably find it a little too slow. I'm going to admit that James and I are very slow to make decisions on things. It used to be that he would infuriate me with how slowly decisions would get made, but in reality, some of the bigger things are worth waiting for. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But some of you were asking about that, and I thought that I would share that with you because sometimes I think that the way that I talk about it, maybe it comes off that it's a fairy tale and that, oh, I want that too. Maybe someday I can do a comparison video from my own experience, but I hesitate to do those types of videos because I'm not looking to disrespect anybody. Neither side of this this is a very unique experience. I think that, unless you are going through the same thing as me, moving here in your 20s and deciding that you're going to live here full time and having to adjust the way that you communicate, the way that you approach things. Stop being impatient. Good things come to those who wait, sort of stuff. Yeah, it's just another way of life. However, I do feel lucky. I feel lucky that I'm here with everything that's going on. And sometimes, I'm going to be completely honest, I feel between two worlds, because a lot of my friends are American and they are doing a lot of social justice work, which I think is super important. But sometimes I feel between worlds. I'm going to be honest. I feel between worlds. I don't live in the States, so my impact is different. People here would argue that maybe I should spend more time doing charitable work for the country that I live in and not the country that I left. I'm curious to hear what you think, as an outsider, maybe, to this situation, but I have tried to balance my charity work. So when we do something like we just did with the marathon for MMIW G2S, that was a US-based charity. So maybe this next charity, I will choose something nearby. I have some things in mind, specifically the homeless in Ireland. It's not nearly as bad as it is in the United States, but the homelessness, or homeless, I don't know if you can call it an epidemic. It's not a plague or something. There's a problem in the system, and it's affecting young mothers, single mothers, more than you would even believe. So, especially since we're coming up to Christmas time, it is something that I'm thinking about a lot. I will put out the call if you are interested in donating any kind of item for auction. Please send me a message on Instagram. My handle is Rachel Ray Craft. If you send an email, it might get missed. I've been getting too many emails to the point where I think I might even have to open another email address. So for the business part of it, or just for communication, because I'm getting a lot of collaboration spam, is what I like to call it. Please, if you are a small business that would like to collaborate with me, connect with me on social media, but just know that I am not required to say yes, and I'm not required to give an answer or to respond. It kind of gets a bit iffy sometimes. The repeat offenders, when I get repeated emails offering me a free canvas for diamond painting, I've started to ignore, because it's just too much. I'm not doing this for free stuff. I'm doing this to help people. So again, if you would like to maybe donate something for an upcoming charity event, I'm thinking about doing it in December. Please get on to me through Instagram, Rachel Ray Craft. I would love to talk to you about it. I'm even going to make a spreadsheet with contact details this time, so that I'm more organized than I have been previously. And if you offered before, but I never got back to you, if you would do me a favor and get back to me, because I've forgotten who all had offered before. I just got into a really bad headspace in October, and I couldn't do any more auctions. But slowly, I will be getting back to my old self, I think. Look, we are almost done with this section. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me today, talk about all kinds of things. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoy this style of sitting down and chatting with me. Please don't forget to drink some water. I brought some in. I apologize if you could hear me, gulp there. But drink your water, take your meds. It's important. I missed my meds twice this week, and I had 2 very, very, very manic days. I'm not, hang on, I'm losing words again. I have not been diagnosed with anything but anxiety and clinical depression. Acute anxiety is what they called it, because I was having panic attacks every day, which I don't anymore, but I do get them sometimes, and they suck. But I have not been diagnosed with anything like bipolar, but if I get off of my medication, I get a kind of restless energy that feels horrible. But it means that I get a lot of stuff done. But it almost feels like I am racing against time, and that if I don't do all of the things right now, something bad's going to happen. That's what my being manic feels like, and I don't like it. So take your medicine, please. Don't let it lapse if you take medication. And if you don't take medication, awesome, but please take a vitamin. Please take a multivitamin. Do not neglect your health. When I was in my 20s, I was like, why do I need to take a multivitamin? I'm young. And also stupid, apparently, because that vitamin D and E and C and all the other E, those are all really important for your skin, your hair, your muscles, your gut health. And if you're not eating, even if you're eating like a 100% plant-based diet, you still need supplements. Like it is important. But I do think, what's really awful. Okay, well, I might save that opinion for a Twitch chat. The accessibility of vitamins, sanitary products for women, and mental health professionals for people of low-income families. Let's talk about that on Twitch one day. That would be nice. Let's go on a rant about that. I went on a rant the other day during my gaming stream on yesterday on Friday when I was playing Stardew Valley. We had or was it Stardew Valley, or was it when I was, anyway, it doesn't matter. One of the days I was having a very heated conversation about politics and things. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, I guess you can go over there. There are no comments over there, though. So if you do want to ever leave a comment, you could just pop it here on one of the videos. I actually brought up the comments section from YouTube, and I was going to answer some questions, but now I feel like we've reached our hour, and I might save it for another day. In fact, I think what would be really nice is if you do have questions for me and you would like me to do this again, or if I do this again in the future, if I don't do it next week, but I do it some week in the future, leave me some questions here on this video and I'll use them for the next video, because I do like answering your questions. It's really fun. All right, so I'm going to show you where I am. So if you don't want to see the shawl, please look away. But we managed to do about that much together while we were talking, which is fantastic. So my marker is there now, which means I only have this many to do, and then I can start on the next section of the shawlography, which is clue number 3. It's fantastic. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for always for spending time with me. I do appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed your time here. Please, if you wouldn't mind, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to hit that little subscribe button, and the bell will notify you. If you hit the bell, it'll notify you when I upload another video, which will be next Tuesday for Theory Tuesday. I'm really excited for you to see next week's episode. I think you're really going to like it. So thanks again. All my love to you and your family. Stay safe, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.